Next we have a presentation from an Honoring Nations winner from 2000, the Yukaana Development Corporation, which is a tribal corporation of the Loudoun tribe in Galena, Alaska. And we have with us all the way from Galena, Theresa Clark, and she's the operations manager at Yukaana Development Corporation. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. When Andrew asked me to speak about Yukaana, he asked that I would speak about why Yukaana was created and how our tribe, Loudoun tribe, sees Yukaana as a way to exercise sovereignty and pursue self-governance, why Yukaana has been successful, and lessons we learned in creating Yukaana. First off, Yukaana Development Corporation is owned by the Loudoun tribe, and Loudoun is a federally recognized tribe for Galena. Galena is on the Yukon River in interior Alaska. Yukaana was created in 1997, and it was created to address economic development in Galena, and it was the tribe looked at what was the best business to enter in the military, which is also located in Galena, was addressing environmental contamination that it created in Galena. The military has had a presence in Galena since the World War II, or since 1940, approximately about that time. So in addressing cleanup, they were contracting out to contractors outside of Galena. So all of the business that was created in Galena was being taken out of Galena, including the employment. Contractors would come in, they would bring in their own employees, and at that time less than 20% of the employment was in Galena, our local community and tribal members. How Loudoun sees Yukaana as a way to exercise sovereignty and pursue self-governance. Well, Loudoun's mission is to govern ourselves. Loudoun is a federally funded, dependent tribe. All of Alaska tribes are dependent. We're not, it's amazing of how much I learned coming down to the lower 48 states of how far we are behind tribes in the lower 48 states. Future profits, because we do make profits, but they're going back into the business. Will be used to fund tribal programs. We'll probably be able to turn some profits over to the tribal council in a couple of years. But the monetary profits aren't the only reason that makes Yukaana successful. We've partnered with the International Labor's Union and the Operating Engineers Union, and they bring in the resource of training. They train tribal and community members, because we don't only look after tribal members, we look after our community members, our non-tribal members. They've come in and they provide training, and they provide training in the HAZWOPER, asbestos abatement. That's the type of trainings that they do, and they come in every year. They ask us what training needs we need, and they come in and they provide these trainings to tribal members at no cost. So you know, all of the, we get a lot of training, and we can't employ all of our tribal and community members, but, so they can take these training certifications that they have, and they can go to outside of Galena. So it provides them another opportunity for employment, not only in Galena, but outside of Galena. A lot of this type of training is required on the North Slope or working on the Trans-Alaska pipeline. So that, you know, it's just creating another opportunity. And so we see this as a success. Also in our partnership with the unions, we, instead of, you know, because we pay the federal wages, which is known as the Davis-Bacon Act wages, and in it is included fringe benefits, which we don't pay to the tribal members, we pay into the unions, and this creates an additional health and welfare insurance benefit to them, other than coverage by Indian Health Service. And in putting into this, we also put in the French benefit also includes retirement, and the union's retirement takes 5 years to vest. So we have tribal and community members that are fully vested. So not only when they retire that they'll have Social Security income, they'll have an additional retirement check to supplement Social Security, which we all know is dwindling. Yukaana is also supportive of businesses in Galena. We don't compete with businesses owned by community and tribal members. If we need heavy equipment, we'll rent from our local, there's a couple other companies similar to Galena. We won't compete with them, we'll support them. So we'll rent their equipment or we'll subcontract to them. Those are some of the reasons. Well, another reason, another big success, or the biggest major success of Yukaana, is that our homelands, our environment is being cleaned up, which the military has left. They came in the 1940s, and the only way to ship petroleum, oil, lubricant products was by barging them down from Nenana, where the railroad ended. And they barged down hundreds of thousands of 55-gallon drums, and they just took them out and they deposited them on the lands where they thought that they were, that was just the normal way of dumping trash, their trash then. And we live in a floodplain, and a lot of these barrels have floated down the Yukon River to the mouth, actually, and they all contained gasoline or antifreeze, and so and what they considered them contaminated, so they could no longer use them. So all of this has dumped out into the Yukon River and the lands. So through contracting them, what one of my board members considered, who else to know when your lands are cleaned other than the people that live there? So we get paid by the government for cleaning up our own lands, but the biggest success is that our lands are being cleaned up. And in addition to this, there's one story I've got to tell. One of our tribal members that worked all summer cleaning up the lands, and we go out and pick up these barrels and take them and throw them away in the landfills. Well, during the hunting season, when he was out hunting, he ran across a barrel and he picked it up, put it in the back of his truck, and brought it up to the dump. So he kind of, gave some free service to the military. lessons that we've learned is that, you know, we always have to continuously plan. Working with the military is not easy, and so we've always had, you know, always struggling to stay a step ahead of them. The Air Force, you know, the military, they thought that they were just going to give a contract to a little tribe and that we would be happy, and they're finding out that it's not true, and it's becoming more difficult to work with them. We're addressing our groundwater contamination right now. We've got probably an unknown amount of fuel products that leak through their pipelines and just being dumped that are floating on our water table, and it's about 1/10 of a mile away from the Yukon River, and it's not known that the fuel has reached the river, which, you know, contains our salmon that we're dependent on. We had to educate ourselves to do this, so we're continually having to educate ourselves. So that's a lesson that we learned. We're always continuously having to monitor progress and maintain our relationship with our customer, which is the Air Force. Yukaana itself is developing other customers, but the main reason for our success, or the main purpose of Yukaana, was to clean up the land surrounding Galena through contracting through the military. If your tribe is going to create a business to create employment opportunities for tribal members like we have, then continuous training is needed for not only for your board, your management, but your tribal members who are ultimately going to be your employees. And of course, we all know that policies need to be addressed to address nepotism, personnel issues, health and safety. And health and safety is probably the biggest concern in doing the type of work that we do.